Hi everybody, my name is Angie Hotz. I am a birth doula and a childbirth educator here in Kitsap County, Washington, and I'm at Salmonberry Birth Center with the amazing Louisa Wales. Lots of questions for her, lots of questions. We'll start with the big question that I get most often, emergencies. What happens?
What happens? Well, a huge part of what I do is risk assessment. So we are identifying people throughout the pregnancy course of care to really try and figure out who's the most appropriate candidate for a birth that occurs outside of the hospital. That alone reduces the numbers of emergency situations that we see at the birth center dramatically. So emergencies do unfold, but they're very, very rare. The most common complication that we see here in the birth center and that we manage here is postpartum hemorrhage, so greater than normal blood loss after birth. And honestly, we manage postpartum hemorrhage the same way that hemorrhage is managed inside the hospital. So the birth center is set up to facilitate normal birth. We have all of the tools here that we need to do that, including all of the medications that are used to treat postpartum blood loss. We have IV fluids as well, which can be very useful tools to manage that situation. But the short version is in a situation like that, we're managing things exactly the same way they would be managed at the hospital. We're just doing it here. Usually that looks like medications and IV fluids, and making sure that the bleeding is stopping quickly and that the mom is tolerating that well. In the event that the situation continues to be abnormal, we would be calling 911, hopping in an ambulance, and skedaddling down to the hospital, which is only about 10 minutes away from us. So honestly, while hemorrhage, it occurs probably, I don't know, somewhere around 10% of the time, we're still only transferring to the hospital, less than 2% of the time. So the vast majority of those complications we're managing here.
Take care of them here.
Exactly.
Keep them from them.
Exactly, and then we get them stable and happy and ready to go home.
And it's the same thing for home birth as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, home birth, we carry all of the same tools and medications with us to home births that we have available to us here at the birth center.
So oxygen, IV fluids.
Oxygen, IV fluids, medications, obviously all of the equipment that we use to monitor mom and baby, they just come with us to the home births. So what we're seeing is that the outcomes and the complication rates between the risk assessment that we do prenatally and then the management of things as they unfold postpartum, the outcomes are the same at home or at the birth center, which is what we aim for.
Yeah, right. So you said prenatally. What does prenatal care look like? Because a lot of times my clients, they want a more personal experience with their care provider.
Sure. So midwifery care, the schedule of midwifery care looks identical to the schedule of regular OB care. So monthly visits until about 30 weeks, every 2 weeks until about 36 weeks, and then weekly visits until you have your baby. We offer all of the same tests and procedures that are offered in regular OB care. We draw blood here in the office. We refer out for ultrasounds as they're needed. The key difference in midwifery care, I think, is a very sincere effort to build a relationship with our clients. So they get to build a relationship with us, and we get to know them and their families really, really well. Our visits typically are about 45 minutes long, and the clinical information gathering, the blood pressure taking, the belly measuring, the heartbeat listening, that stuff is really important, but it only takes 5 minutes, right? So what we really spend the rest of that time on is talking about what's going on in your life, how's your relationship with your partner, what's going on at work? What things are you excited about or not loving about being pregnant right now? Really getting to know each other. And that, I think, is the foundation of midwifery care, is the relationship that we get to build with our clients, which is really a very sweet and lovely thing, to the extent that we really miss our clients when they graduate from our care at 6 weeks postpartum.
I have been with Melanie to births where we transferred, did all the things, used all the tools. The mom needed a cesarean, had a cesarean. We all stayed, slept in the waiting room, hanging out.
We believe really strongly that, if we're doing our jobs right, the baby is born where it's most appropriate on the day, given what's going on, right? So if that's here at the birth center or at home, then that's awesome. But there are going to be some babies who need, and some moms who need more tools or different tools that we don't have here. And that necessitates, obviously, a venue change. And that's really how we see transfer, right? So about 30% of first-time moms who plan home or birth center births are going to wind up having their babies in the hospital. That's almost always because they get handed a long, crummy labor, and at some point we need pharmaceutical pain relief, right? 95+% of our transfers are for what we call non-emergent reasons. It's very relaxed. We make the decision together. We hop in the car. We go to the hospital. And our team, it's really important to us, and I think it's something that we do a little differently. Not all midwifery practices accompany their clients throughout the transfer process, but we do. And the reason why we do is because we believe that your birth space is really not so much where you are as it is who's with you, right?
Take your bubble with you.
Right. So if I'm the one who's been taking care of you through your pregnancy, and that as long as our team is with you, it kind of doesn't matter where we wind up. Even if we wind up having a baby in the OR and a cesarean section.
It was wonderful, and I have loved looking at these moms and saying, it's going to come full circle, because when you leave the hospital, they're going to come and visit you. And the people that you know and are comfortable with are going to come and have this closure with you and talk about it. And I love that.
I think that continuity of care, regardless of, if, one of the challenges we have is that when we transfer into the hospital, we don't necessarily know, and usually the clients don't know who the physician is who'll be taking care of them. That matters less when your midwife's with you, right? So we get to sometimes translate a little bit, sometimes really help the physicians who are receiving us to understand who our clients are and what's important to them about their experience. And so we're really able to ease that transition, use the tools that we need, that we're there for, right? If we wind up in the hospital, it's because we need something that they have. And we're really fortunate here to have a couple of hospitals who really support us beautifully in making sure that our clients' wishes are really held central, regardless of where we wind up. And then obviously, you have your baby in the hospital, and when you're discharged, you come back into our care. So we're typically doing a postpartum home visit when you return home from the hospital, and then the 3 and 6 week postpartum visits, which we typically do here in the office. So that we still consider our hospital born babies to be our babies, because it really doesn't matter to us where your baby's born. It's just that
so
they're
what,
safe and healthy.
Yes, absolutely. What keeps you coming back? Tell me some favorite things, or I don't know, funny story, or
okay. So there's
something.
this moment that we sometimes get to see. Usually first-time moms and they're doing the hard work right in the middle of that active labor process. So that they're not pushing yet. Sometimes it's when they're pushing, but usually they're just working really hard. And it's this moment where their entire personality and who they are as a person shifts, and they become a mom, right? Sometimes it's the first time when they touch their baby's head, right? When they're pushing their babies out. And that is, it's a really glorious moment, right? I mean, I've probably attended somewhere around 500 births, and there's still births that make me cry, right? It is an absolute privilege to stand in a space with a mom and a dad and a baby when they're meeting each other for the first time. That is, it's really holy. It's a very sacred place.
It's profound.
And that, you know, it just doesn't get old. It doesn't get old. And done well, and handled in the right way, even the hardest births, right? The ones that take us to places we never wanted to go. Handled well, those births can still be exquisitely beautiful and incredibly transformative for the people doing the work, for the family. Handled poorly, and that's a recipe for disaster in lots of different ways. I don't know. I believe in a very it's like a low-tech, high-touch kind of thing. And it's not rocket science. It's about knowing the people that you are caring for and them knowing you. That's what, I mean, I like being a community midwife, right? I like that people know who I am, and I like driving around and seeing the houses where I've met babies, and yeah, it's a delicious job that
I love it.
I do.
I love it. Do you have things to add? Do you have things you want people to know that we haven't talked about, covered?
I don't think so. I think I'm good.
Awesome. I know. I'm like trying to think of all the things that I had in my brain. I think you covered it.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
It's my pleasure.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
There will be links to Salmonberry Birth Center in the comments and links to other videos and good stuff. Thank you for watching.
If you ever want to come by and take a tour or have a consult, sit down with the midwives. We're always happy to meet you and your families. If you've got anxious relatives or partners who have burning questions, come on in, sit down, have a cup of tea with us, have a look around.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. We like it.
Gorgeous here. Thank you.
No worries.